Welcome in. It's the well-rested Real Kyper and Bourne show. Leaf edition. For the next 2 hours, it's Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jen Rolnick. Wherever you're watching and listening, Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6. We're glad you're aboard. When you don't get us live, give us a download wherever you get your pod.
That's easily the most notes I've ever seen you make on your paper.
Well, you know, I said we were well rested, and we are because we're coming off of a family day weekend.
Yeah.
In which we all worked on Monday.
Yeah, does it count, though? We did the Leaf game.
Yeah. I just did an hour after the game.
And they didn't even ask us for a post.
It was great. We just watched hockey and
Yeah.
talked about it a bit and left.
Kind of cool.
That was nice.
But do you not feel a little well rested?
Yeah, I feel good. No complaints here.
Love it. Ready to rock.
Anything
What?
exciting?
For the weekend?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I went to the PWHL game on Friday.
Yeah, how was that?
It was good.
Yeah.
Really good crowd. People were fired up. But other than that, nothing. Literally nothing exciting.
JB? Nothing exciting?
I can't.
Family day?
You know,
Did it
I don't
include
remember
kids?
a thing. Yeah, I was around my kids a bit.
My wife and I snuck up to Collingwood.
Oh, nice.
Beauty.
You ski?
No.
Just
I
après
went-
ski.
I went all Doug McLean pickleball
You
Sunday.
did? You played pickleball?
First time.
How was it?
Well, I didn't really understand the rules, so
Okay.
I'm thinking I'm like a giant on a ping pong table,
Yeah.
smashing the ball over the net, and you can't in this area. You cannot smash it over the net.
Oh.
You got to be back off of a
You
certain
smashed from the
line.
back row?
You can smash from the back row, but you can't move up within like 3 feet of the net
Yeah.
unless the ball drops first.
Right.
I didn't know that. People looked at me like I had 3 heads. Get him out of here. He's a
concussing
goon.
people.
Yes. Yeah.
Smashing it.
But it took me a while, but I got the hang of it.
That's great. Is that in your future like Doug? Do you see yourself doing that?
I kind of got hooked a little bit, yeah.
Oh, you liked it?
I didn't mind it. But you got to get a feel for the lighter racket, the lighter ball. You don't have to just placement more than power. So that's my.
It's the evolution of aging. You know that.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm old right now, for sure.
There is no
I'm
comparison.
the dinosaur.
There's no comparison between tennis and pickleball.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Tennis is so fun and way more fun.
Have
and
you
way
played
more,
pickleball?
Yeah, of course.
Hey,
of
listen,
course.
you could get
I
hurt in
haven't.
pickleball too. You can snap an Achilles tendon very easily in that sport.
But tennis is a lot of fun to play, but it's just the progression of age where it's like you don't want to cover the full court. You want to stand there, and now there's pro leagues and it's on ESPN. So there you go.
Pickleball.
I also went up. I got a buddy up there, Cammy, and I just want to tell this story to you because Sammy, you probably appreciate this. And
You're in my neck of the woods up there.
yeah, so my buddy Cammy's not a golfer.
Okay.
But in 2004, somehow, some way, he found himself as the range marshal at the 2004 British Open at Royal Troon.
As a non-golfer, okay.
Yeah. So basically, his job was to escort the players to the range and then get them to the first tee. And he had, the story goes, he had Greg Norman with him.
Yeah.
And the little kid gave Greg Norman a hat to sign.
Yeah.
And Greg Norman signed it, and he threw it like 20 feet away from the guy, the kid.
Okay.
So my buddy, I think, had a few choice words to give Greg Norman about a bit of a dick move.
Yeah.
And so they had to separate them.
Oh,
Really?
Oh, yeah. It almost came to blows.
Yeah, well, it was not, he definitely told Norman what he thought of the
move.
the bad throw, the bad toss. But anyways, to make a long story short, he ended up getting fired.
Listen, Greg Norman is not an overly popular man.
Yeah.
He sounds, by many accounts, to be a bit of a Greg first
Nice
a-hole.
job, though.
Well done. The 2004 Open Championship was won by
US.
Todd Hamilton.
Oh, the great
US.
Todd.
Old
Hamilton.
Todd
Didn't you win
Stern.
a date with him? Wasn't that a movie?
I don't know.
He also ended up in the pub, I think, the Thursday night and had one too many. That may have also factored into his firing.
That's when he suckered Greg.
Anyways.
Yeah, great story.
Yeah, good story. All right. Where do you want to start here? Because the Leafs are in a bit of a roll. Austin's on a roll. Yet we get news that Morgan Rielly's suspension is upheld by Gary Bettman at 5 games.
Yeah, start there.
Yeah.
Okay. Never really stood a chance, did it?
I stood a chance to be brought back 1 game. Yeah, I think they had a fair case. Yeah. There's an interesting note at the end of the whole ruling from Bettman, which, by the way, it's hilarious. There's an 11-page thing
You
on
like
this.
the documents I printed off for you guys?
Yes.
So you can pour over those and feel super official?
I skimmed through them, and there's just like nothing that you could get out of them.
The only thing is that he says the NHLPA argued that the recent 6th game for David Perron should not be should not be considered a comparator because of the pending appeal from Bettman. So they couldn't use the Perron case is the point. And the Perron case to me is the biggest one where it's like it was so much should have been dialed back so far from that suspension to me because of no injury, because of no history, because of so many other factors. And they couldn't use that one. So that was the only noteworthy thing.
The only thing that stood out for me was the fact that he made it a point to say it was a perceived disrespectful act, right? That it was perceived, but we didn't see it as anything other than just So they don't want to, and I don't really blame Bettman on this.
I thought the Leafs had a terrible case here.
That you can't pick and choose what you deem is disrespectful if it's like it's such a fine line where we have these unwritten rules, and it's like he's not going to sit there and decipher what's unwritten or disrespectful. Only the players can do that are on the ice.
Yeah, Bettman's ruling makes it clear that it says Shanahan and Treliving tried to make the case that what Ridley Gregg did was provocative and tried to embarrass the Leafs or whatever.
Which are facts.
Okay, yeah, which are facts.
But it's not a good
Bettman
case.
says they're irrelevant.
Yeah.
They're irrelevant facts.
Yeah, he scored a goal.
Yeah, if you swear at me, I can't shoot you with a gun. You know, like it's not like what the act that precedes your action is irrelevant. You can't do that regardless of what the player said or did. You're not allowed to do what he did. So.
If you're making that case, I think that holds much more water with like a former player type as opposed to the commissioner of the league.
Yeah.
With the commissioner of the league, he's like, he scored too hard?
Exactly.
That's what he's going to look at you and say.
It's not reflexive. It wasn't an instant reaction.
Yeah.
Rielly had time to make his decision. So whatever, 4 or 5, whatever.
Since this whole appeal, I think there's only 2 suspensions where he's actually brought them down. And we know the Spets is one of them.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? The clipping one? There was like a clipping one that he brought back?
I only remember 2012, Rafi Torres got suspended in the playoffs. Remember, they gave him 25 games?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Brendan Shanahan that gave him 25 games. And then Bettman brought it down to 21 games. Does that make sense?
Sounds about right.
There was another one, though. Elliot had a couple last week in his article. There's one other smaller one where he might have brought back one.
There was
maybe Bettman didn't.
There was some real conspiracy theorists on the Rafi Torres one as well because they went into a shutdown for a CBA in 2012.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of people that think Gary brought it down 4 games. So when they renegotiate and they went through supplementary discipline, he can say, hey, appeals work.
Oh,
you think so?
Leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
Appeals work.
Right.
That would be very Gary.
I would be extremely unshocked if that were the truth.
Yeah.
Not a bad move.
No.
It worked because he's still in control.
I saw, was it the Active Stick or someone on Twitter tweeted like, it's hilarious to appeal to Bebop and Rocksteady. They suspend you, and then you go to Shredder for the appeal.
100%.
The idea that you appeal to Bettman is irrelevant. It's just silly.
I think the bigger conversation here now is that the Leafs are 4-0 and on the brink of 5-0 without Morgan Rielly in the lineup.
Yeah, I will say, Kip, the only Leafs conversations I've had in the last couple of days where the random conversations, people are like, do you make anything of the Leafs record without Rielly?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
They are.
I do.
They're 29, 11, and 4.
It's not exactly a small sample size here.
But
it's significant.
But then the implication that you make something of it is that you think they're better off without Rielly.
No, I just think they're more disciplined without Rielly.
They play differently without Rielly.
They do play differently without Rielly. Yes.
Really?
And I do buy into it.
Well, one thing I know for sure is you got a couple of call-ups who are content to bang it off the glass and out and not make a mistake, and you don't always have that in the lineup.
So here's what we're heading towards, is the last year when he got hurt against the Islanders, the game that we were at last year, Then he came back after however he was long, and they lost their first game against the Coyotes, and everyone's like, oh, see, he's the problem.
Yeah.
They're going to play tomorrow night against the Arizona Coyotes, who have lost 10 games in a row.
10 in a row, they're garbage.
Heading into tomorrow night with the Leafs playing really well against bad teams even, and Austin Matthews on the brink of 50, and they're probably going to win that game. And then they're going into the second half of a back-to-back where Morgan Rielly returns against the Vegas Golden Knights. And I got to tell you, boys, don't like their chances in that one.
This is how it works.
We're going to be having the conversation.
Yeah, they're going to play Vegas, Colorado, Vegas after Rielly comes back, and everyone's going to be like,
he's going to be like, Rielly, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's not McKinnon shooting it off the wing, bar down. But anyways,
I would like to sneak in that game against Arizona, I think, if I'm Morgan.
Definitely. Would have liked to get back and get a win with the boys.
They went in rather hot. Remember that lengthy
the injury that he had? They went to
and they did lose that game in Arizona.
Yeah, I think it was like 3-zip or something. They lost pretty handily.
So
they play some hockey teams coming up.
A given, but I think it's just the fact that they know who they are back there, and they're not trying to do anything out of the ordinary. No one's trying to be a Morgan Rielly and skate the puck coast to coast,
which must make the coaches pull their hair out. Just do that when he's in the lineup.
You'd think you could convince these guys to be as disciplined, and there's only one green light here, and it belongs to Morgan.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's contagious that once one D sees Morgan have a little bit of freedom to go behind the net or jump up on the play or pinch, then everybody goes along for the ride as well.
Yeah, I also think there's a big pride factor where you're like, gosh, we rely on this guy so much. We don't want to get embarrassed. Like, everyone, dial up your focus, dial up whatever. We are going to be called upon tonight. We're going to be necessary. And I think you go into the game with that mindset. Like, oh my God, like who was it? Like a couple of their guys, like Benoit's playing 20 minutes. And
I think it's a necessary context for this conversation that they're also very good with Rielly in the lineup.
Yes.
Like, they've also won, like, like all these records without their stars. It's like, yeah, they've just won a lot more games than they've lost in the regulars. They win a lot more than they lose. Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at that, though, 29-11-4 since 2018, 2019 jumps off the page to you. Like, there's just no question it jumps off the page.
It does jump off the page, but
I know what you're gonna say.
It doesn't jump off the page as much as everybody's record jumps off the page except for Mitch Marner.
I know. I honestly hesitated to even put it in there because I knew you'd see that, but I had to put it in there for context.
Only one guy under 500 when he's not in the lineup.
It would be legitimately interesting to go through some of like where they were at the time because it is notably different when Marner is out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
mean, there's also the fact
the
that
engine, boys.
Yeah, he's a great player. It hurts to not have him in.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's funny. Anyways, any more about Marner there? Well, did you see? I don't know if you probably saw our conversation yesterday. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter or not, but we were talking about how he was underrated, and Bunkus had to take that he was underrated. And I thought over the stretch, and I think it's
just basically saying what I said for the last year and a half.
But it's contentious on the show about Matthews and Marner and this whole it's good. It's sports talk radio. It's supposed to be like that.
Yes.
But I do think at this point we can actually meet in the middle here, boys, where they're both playing really good.
I don't think there's two better players on the planet now.
No, they are out of control. They're just, the chemistry's there. Like, Matthews is shooting it in the net all the time. But, like, they've been putting on a pillow. I think they said on the broadcast yesterday that Marner has 22 primary assists on Matthews' goals. It's just, they are clicking.
I believe they are now the Leafs leaders, right? For assists, her connecting on a goal. Like, they passed Sittler and McDonald all time.
Yeah. So, the Leaf fans are lucky right now.
There's a reason coaches, Keefe does not want to separate these guys.
Yeah. No, it's not coaches.
Yeah, I back that up.
Yeah.
The only question is where is everybody around them? Mm-hmm. Like, is this basically the feel and the look that you're going to have going right into the stretch of the regular season and then hopefully have these guys still clicking in the playoffs?
I think it's really hard. It's a lot harder when you're a team that is built around one way of doing things to continue doing that thing. Like, teams take it away, they game plan for it. If you're preparing to play the Leafs, you circle 34 and 16 and whoever else, maybe 88.
Yeah.
You say you slash them every time you can. You're in front of them. You take away their speed, run interference. You make life miserable. And then you say, make everyone else beat us. And then it's
funny,
Tyler
though.
Bertuzzi time.
It's funny, though, that St. Louis would have played them, 2 games in just about a week.
Exactly a week, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Monday to Monday.
Give their credit. They took away Bobby McMahon. They took away the biggest threat.
But they're not overly physically challenged by their opponents.
Those two guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see anyone really being like, but they will be.
Well, yeah. You would think. But I'm surprised that St. Louis would be a team that would say, okay, you take away Matthews and Marner, you get in their face, you rub them out a little bit here.
I gotta tell you,
they're the ones that are going to kill you.
The Blues played with the heart of, I don't know, a squashed apple. It was just like, ugh.
Both the games against the Leafs, they had nothing.
No life.
How about Krug?
Yeah, what happened to him?
I don't know what happened to him. He was a top-notch defenseman for the Boston Bruins.
Loved Krug.
Warranted a long-term contract out of St. Louis. And I can't think of a worse defenseman I saw yesterday.
He was brutal.
And the crazy part about that is they're in the playoffs. It just tells you what about the bottom half of the Western Conference. They are ahead of the Predators, ahead of the Wild, ahead of the Squids.
I mean, make no mistake, they are the main course for whoever in the first round.
But,
they are just dinner for, whether it be Dallas, Vancouver, whoever they end up seeing.
Absolutely.
Okay. In 10 minutes, 12 minutes, we're going to welcome in Gord Stellick, one of our favorites here on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. We'll get into what he sees out of Matthews and Marner. In the meantime, let's go to Sheldon Keefe for our first Kyper's Clipper on his overview of yesterday's hockey game.
I thought we got better as the game went along. It was a snoozer of a first period for us. Better, loved, obviously, the way we started the second period. Took charge of the game there, big-time play by Nyzy. And then I thought we played a good second period. It's disappointing to take the penalty that we did and to get scored on like that. But I thought it was a good second period for us. And then third period again, Nyzy draws a penalty and we take charge of it again with just, burying our chance there. So all in all, it's a good road game for us. And we did enough things to win here today. And I thought we played a smart game that minimized any sort of chances or damage that they could inflict on us.
Nyzy.
Couple
Nyzy shout-outs in there. I mean, first off, that nice goal was.
It was really
nasty.
But that's the potential that you saw from the moment he left college, that he's just this big body. He could be a power forward. How good or how great remains to be seen, but that's the look that
he can do that, and that he can score the goal he did against Pittsburgh. Those aren't your normal 18-goal grinder goals.
But what is normal at his age is the lack of consistency or the lack of focus from shift to shift, game to game, and that's all that can be expected as a 21-year-old coming out of college.
Yeah. Let's listen to Sheldon say his piece on Matthew Nye's clip 2.
I think he's been working and on the puck and making plays. It's a great play he made to start the game the other day against Anaheim. Pass he makes to Austin. He creates a turnover. Tries the puck deep, creates a turnover after that, and it makes a play to the middle of the rink for Austin to finish it. That's taking charge of the first period of the Anaheim game. Today he takes charge of the second period of this game here to get us going. So that's what you're looking for, and I've seen some growth in his game for sure. I think coming out of the break, it looks like he's got a little more energy to him too, which is obviously important.
Yeah, I think that energy is a good point. When he seems energized, he can make game-breaking plays. But when he plays a lot and when it starts to go south for him, that's the time to maybe sit him out or put him on the third or fourth line. Just let him have a night to chill.
Yeah, but I think in an ideal world, you would be not. Well, clearly, in an ideal world, he would not be on the top line. Yeah. But in an ideal world, you would have him in the bottom half of your lineup. And if he's really buzzing there during the start of the game, then you put him up.
Yeah,
you have that luxury. But you just right now with the way the Leafs left wing position looks, you don't have that luxury.
There's no luxury.
No, there's no luxury. You have the 4, and then you fill it in with everything else, basically.
This is true.
Like, is this the left side we envision here in 3 weeks?
He doesn't.
Nyes, McMahon, Bertuzzi, and Holmberg.
It's not terrible. They're missing one.
Can we get Brad May?
Elite guy?
No, it's not good.
I don't think it's that bad. They're missing a top 6 guy for sure, but they're missing other things more. So it's just not where he's going to fix it. You know, if your roof is leaking and your dishwasher's not running, you got to fix the roof first. Do you not?
Yeah, I don't want wet dishes when they come out of the
No, I don't
dishwasher.
either, but I also don't want to live in a wet house. So you got to prioritize what's worse. Your D is worse. Yeah. So patch the roof, and then we'll start worrying about appliances, okay?
But either way, you're not hosting a party.
No, you're hosting no parties.
Right?
There will not be any champagne served in a house like
there's
that.
There's no parade. There's no balloon. There's no music. There's no dancing.
That's
Sorry,
for sure.
folks, we're eating off paper plates.
That are wet. That are wet. Oh.
I think it's been more and more abundantly clear that, yes, okay, you're to your point, you have to prioritize, but this forward group, like, it's leaky.
You really liked Marshall Rafai, did you?
No, I think
I actually liked Marshall Rafai.
I mean, he looked like a guy out of a creative player that you call up from the Marlies.
Looks like in 2 or 3 years he could maybe be a steady player.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But like, hello, today.
Yeah.
They got to win today.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah. They got to advance in the playoffs.
Yeah.
In 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah, like he's 4 players from getting in on April 19th when the first round starts.
I think if there's one thing that I have been convinced of, it's that Bobby McMahon can be a contributor to this team. Maybe not full-time in the playoffs, but like a guy that...
Oh, I think he can.
I'd
not like he's a goal scorer.
No, but I'd still like him to be a guy that you have options where if he's really pushing, you can mix him in and out. But like, he's really showing me something over this last little bit. Like, he really does look good.
Which could be really helpful to convince somebody to take him as value so you can get something that can help you win now.
You think?
Yes. Yes, he's up.
Said that during the game yesterday. Like, are we sure we don't want to just sell high right now?
He's in play. Robertson's in play. Holmberg's in play. Like, you're going to have to give something up. If
For sure. I don't care. Treat any of those guys. I don't care about it.
Just get something that is heavy and has experience that can help you win now.
Yeah, I just don't know that he isn't what you would be trying to get. You know what I mean? Like a guy who skates really well, will play his role big enough, and can shoot one in the net. I think of these like teams that, like Vegas had that great fourth line that could chip in here and there.
Yeah. But that fourth line in many ways was 2 years in the making, 3 years in the making.
Yeah, but Bobby's 27, McMahon. Man. He's not 23.
I know, but you're asking a guy that was an AHL player.
They wanted him to play on the Leafs this year.
Bobby?
He had a bad camp, and well, in their opinion.
But I'm just saying, though, you can't go from the Marlies to proving that you're an everyday player in February to being a key contributor to try to win a Stanley Cup all in within 9 months.
Not a key contributor.
Rare.
Yeah, for sure.
But they need key contributors outside of the obvious.
I'm talking about fourth line left wing. I'm not talking about more than that.
But if another team, if I'm Brad Treliving and somebody's calling me and asking me like, hey, what's up with the trio of Nick Robertson and Holmberg and Bobby McMahon, kind of like, guys, you can have Holmberg or Robertson first. Like over McMahon in terms of the size, in terms of like what he brings to them. It's a little bit more unique.
You have to make the guess, will Robertson ever become a true difference maker, a 30-plus goal?
No.
Because if he's going to score 22 goals and play like he plays when he isn't scoring, we can have him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, will he ever get to another level in the NHL? He might.
Yeah, he can get there sooner
he
than
can shoot it, boy.
on this team, I think.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And now more than ever, especially with Austin and Mitch at the level that they're at, And say what you will about Willie and cooling off since he signed his $92 million. There's always that threat that he can take that puck from one end to the other and do what he did yesterday.
And his production is
still
way
good.
back up.
By the way,
he's still 100 points. He's still 100 plus.
His utter dismissal of Pontus Holmberg on that Holmberg beats everyone up the ice, and it's a great play to use him as a decoy. The goalie's thinking about him.
Never thought about it once.
But, he was aware enough to use him as a, whatever. Yeah. But what a
just wrister.
Hofer's like, you didn't pass.
All right, let's ask Sheldon what he thought of Willie and his game, even as a PK guy.
Yeah.
Well, I just think with the more reps he gets more comfortable with it. I think the most important thing with Willie, like a lot of really top players, like their strength on the penalty kill is never going to be when the other team's in full possession and snapping it around in the zone. Their strength is going to be on loose pucks and plays where they can sense the opposition is in a little bit of trouble and they can anticipate and jump. And that's what he did tonight on a number of occasions, not just on the goal he scored, but that level of anticipation and just being strong on the puck to go the other way was terrific. So that's a huge goal for us and a very underrated effort by Holmberg to sprint up the ice.
Tory Crew, straight up.
Doesn't get the pass, but I think he forces the goaltender to get a lot deeper on that play, and then credit to Willie to recognize how deep the goalie is and just find the open space.
Willie is T5 now in shorties in the NHL. That's his third shorthanded goal of the year. You put him on the PK in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I would too.
He's a threat.
And that's something the Leafs had for years when it was, say what you will about Engvall, he could skate, Mikheyev could skate. Like they had all these guys that would push it shorthanded. Obviously, Marner's a great shorthanded threat. So, I think he's valuable in that role.
Right.
Go ahead. Bert on the PP. John Tavares stays on the bench. Tyler Bertuzzi gets PP1 reps.
So I get texts from people saying, like, Sheldon, listen to us.
That's like such a radio thing to be like, that. We did that for sure.
We did that. We told him, take John Tavares off the top unit and put Bertuzzi there.
Before we get into that, have you ever seen a guy miss high
on
from
an
the
empty
neutral
net?
From the neutral zone on an empty net? Like, was he trying to go bar down?
I don't know.
Just skate into the offensive zone and rip it along the ice.
Just keep it on the ice.
But he had three more strides in front of him.
You don't even need the 3 strides.
But I'm with Kip too. Like
just
there's no one between you and the net.
Ice,
you can't miss low.
And it's in the net.
It's a great point. You can't miss low. I will say.
Baffling.
The comedy of a guy who's been cursed all year, shooting it on an empty net and hearing it bang off the end glass was quite funny. I laughed.
The thought being, I guess, for him, like just it's more natural to just kind of roll it off and let it get up a bit.
Somebody put a spell on him or something.
Honest to God, he's been hexed.
Something.
Well, it's not good.
He did something.
I don't get it.
No, he needs to sacrifice someone into a volcano or something. It just sounds like in warm-ups whenever he's missing the net. Like, oh no.
All right, let's go to Keith on Bertuzzi staying on the top unit.
Well, it scored 4 goals last game, and not just that, but Bert got one too. So I think there's a chance there to capitalize on some extra momentum, similar type of mindset with McMahon, the way he's been going to keep him up on the third line and to keep him on the power play as well. Trying to capitalize on some of that momentum with those guys.
Yeah, not harder than play the hot hands, I guess, and try to get the hand hotter in his case.
Yeah, or get it lukewarm.
Yeah, get it out of the freezer.
Can we just have like 3 in his next 11?
Sure.
So it's not just like a conversation every day about how he's cursed?
The fact, before he scored that goal, he put one off the inside of the post in a manner that made me think, like Kyper, to your point, that he really needs to atone for some sins or something. He did something terrible.
You think John's okay with it? I think at this stage of his career, he has to understand that this is about making the team better, deeper. The more success the team has in many ways, he can be viewed as being more successful. Does that make sense?
I do, and I think he has to be at the point of his career. He's racked up a lot of points, and I understand he still wants his points, and I understand everyone does, but he is going to be judged by team success now. Right?
I agree.
And I feel like part of maturity and growing up is recognizing that, like, he needs the Toronto Maple Leafs to win. And if that involves, sometimes sitting out a PP or two, hopefully he understands that's. For the record, if he doesn't understand that and he's the captain and prioritizes his own stats, you got a problem. And I don't think they do have a problem.
Yeah. The only thing is it's a pride thing. It's an ego thing for sure. And it's just from the moment he put on skates, I'm sure at age 7 with the Marlies and the GTHL to World Juniors to the Islanders, he's always been the top guy.
But this is a theme.
It's not easy pill to swallow even at his age.
Right. But this is a theme of the Leafs, of your career, of people accepting that I lit it up in junior, but to stay, I need to do something different. To be important, I need to do something different. Bobby McMahon has scored 2 at levels, but to stay with the Leafs, he doesn't need to score. He needs to hit and forecheck. Same with Marshall Rafai. Yeah. Same with...
I don't know about that. I don't know.
What's that?
He still needs to score. He's making $11 million.
No, Bobby McMahon.
You're saying about Tavares.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Tavares, there's definitely a level
he needs to kind of keep some level of importance for sure.
I agree with that, but I'm just saying there is a humility. It's a tough pill to swallow that sometimes you need to do less so the team can do more. Yeah. I'm not saying don't score, but he needs to accept that his role is different than it was 2 years ago, or should be.
Did you guys notice? I know you always notice this kind of thing, that when he came off for the second unit with 30 seconds or 25 seconds or whatever, he came flying off the bench, picked a guy's pocket, and just ripped one high. Like, he looked like the hungriest guy I've ever seen. I was like,
and that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah, maybe he is not as okay with this as we thought.
He doesn't have 2 minutes.
No, go get it done quicker. Yeah, efficiency time.
Yeah, I just for we were talking about the bottom 6 and guys that could mix in and trade for or whatever. Just checking Corey Perry's 4 points in 8 games plus 2, 9 PIMs, 13 minutes a night.
Yeah, they got him playing with McDavid, dude.
Yeah, no one talking about anything. Just it's all gone away. Probably could have done that here.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I don't know if you could have done that here, pal.
Different pill to swallow in this market with him still coming in.
I know,
but
he's been good, and they love him.
But just to wrap up on John Tavares, he's still gonna have to hold his own behind Matthews, though, somehow, some way, which is
less time might be good there.
The only concerning part is go back and find his last 5-on-5 goal.
Has he still not had one?
You tell me. I think it's been a very long time.
Sam's on it.
So if he's not,
it's been not many over a long time.
If he's not going to see a lot of power play time from here on end, do you still believe he can be a driver behind Matthews?
Are you asking me about this year or next year?
Now.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think he's a driver now?
His last even strength goal is a concern for me.
Yeah, I don't even care if it was a week ago. It's one over the past 3 months or something.
Can he still drive a second line?
I don't know if he can.
I think
playing with Willie, he can chip in.
I think his last 5-on-5 goal, if I'm not mistaken, or even strength, was December 23rd, 23.
2 months.
Yeah,
I think that's correct.
It's hard. It's hard to score. We know it's a hard league to score, except for Austin. Except for Austin.
Yeah. Just dumps it in the net like it's a dump in.
You want to advance in the playoffs. You need 2 strong lines.
Particularly when the other team does what I talked about off the opening of the show, where they say him and him, we're going to tackle those guys and make other guys beat us. It's eyeballs to Tavares.
Do they need to experiment with JT on the left side a little bit more here? Would you consider Willie in the middle?
Just flipping them on the same line?
Yep.
Yeah, I did.
What?
No net November, was that? I sure hope so.
What?
Just to kind of loosen it up a little bit for him. Less responsibility, less work, less down lows. I don't know.
Let's go to break.
It's a terrifying thing to be like, yes, Willie, D-zone center.
Okay. Just like that, half an hour. Was that like, no?
I don't know. Let's go to break.
You're the producer. You tell us what we heard.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll find out. We'll let you all know after the break. When we return with Gord Stellick, former general manager of the Leafs, up next on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We're back. It's the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, Leaf edition. All right, let's welcome in Gord Stellick, Toronto Maple Leaf analyst for Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and of course, best known as former general manager of your Toronto Maple Leafs. Ladies and gentlemen, Gord Stellick.
Kippy, Justin.
Wow.
That was pretty good, eh? How are you?
That was. Yes.
So, okay, Gord, we've been on the air like 30 minutes. We haven't figured out why the Leafs win without Morgan Rielly. So you tell us.
Well, or without Austin Matthews, without all those guys. Their records are way better without all those guys. I think, I really do think, and I don't know how long it's sustainable. And Kippy, you'd be a great example of this, that when, and I maintain that even, we didn't have big winning teams when I was around by and large, but people would go, oh my God, you're missing all these individuals. And quite often we'd come up with our best hockey back then. And I really, whether it's Bobby McMahon, whether it's Nick Robertson, whatever it may be. Last year, they had 3 defensemen out with Morgan Rielly, TJ Brody, and Jake Muzzin, and Justin Hull played his best hockey. Giordano played a ton. It just seems to be you get the chance and you rise to the occasion. In the short term anyway, almost like a coaching change that quite often you get a short-term bounce. So I think that's kind of part of it. Bobby McMahon, what a great example against that St. Louis game. Wasn't going to dress and got the hat trick. So hopefully this means this kind of jumping up now. Can that mean a deeper playoff team, a more balanced team in the playoffs, which is what they've been lacking most years? We'll have to wait to see that. But certainly guys have seized the opportunity.
One of those guys who's been given a little bit more opportunity and thriving, Bobby McMahon, shooting in the net just all the time, all of a sudden, which is pretty cool. Seems to have growing confidence. The guys are kind of giving him a hard time. He feels like he's becoming more a part of this club. Is what he's doing, I understand the goals aren't sustainable, but him being a valued member of the team, something you can see lasting into a playoff run?
Well, and even that empty net goal where he got away giving Torrey Krug a mugging.
I know. The refs let him have one.
Well, like last year in the first round of the playoffs, Michael Bunting's hit on Chernak, unfortunately took him out, and got him suspended. And I mean, you don't want the suspensions, but you do need that element of the game. And Nazem Kadri gave it to you again. He went too far in the playoffs, but you do need, as Brad Treliving talked about it, a little bit more sandpaper, a little bit more grit, some gristle. So I'd like that he can bring that. And again, you go back to the Morgan Rielly thing, getting the appropriate reaction from anybody after a shot like that. I mean, these are the little things that I find really matter. And Bobby McMahon, I didn't realize, I don't know if his offensive stats can keep up that way, but if he brings that kind of dimension, he could find a really good niche that you need here.
We're talking to Gord Stellick, former general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, analyst for Sportsnet 590, The Fan. So, Gord, we've got Austin Matthews on like an historic pace, and you have covered the Leafs as long as anyone in terms of, the modern Leafs coming out of their 67 Stanley Cup. Historically, where do you put this? And is it almost as if Leaf fans are a little guarded here, maybe because of the lack of playoff success, that they're not truly absorbing what they're seeing yet?
So it's an interesting question. And Justin, you also brought up a good point about that last week when we were chatting. So first of all, even in the original 6 era, the Leafs had a lot of team success, but they were not winning Hart trophies or Art Ross trophies or Norris trophies. They really didn't so much. And compared to some of the other, like the Montreal Canadiens, Detroit Red Wings, for example, back then. So this is really unique in Toronto. And I think last week, Justin's point was, Kippy, the three of us 20 years from now, Lord willing, we're sitting around and we're going to be talking about some phenomenal Leaf players. Probably the greatest player ever in Austin Matthews. Mitch Marner should be considered right up there as well. Who knows where Willie Nylander goes? And this really is a special, fun, enjoyable, talented era about those elite players. But again, there'll be that element of emptiness if there is no playoff success forthcoming. And, right now, they're not the age that the Tampa Bay Lightning players are, which you're seeing the effects of that. They're still in their prime, but oh my God, if the Florida Panthers now pass them, are they the new kids on the block? Are we ever going to see that in Toronto, those sustained and deep playoff runs? But you can't lose track about this is probably the greatest Leaf player ever, Austin Matthews. This may be the greatest offensive output season ever by a Toronto Maple Leaf player. and then you throw Marner, Nylander, and the others in there, it's something pretty special.
Yeah, it's funny. We actually didn't talk about Matthews' goals, I don't think at all in the first half an hour, because Kip and I did it for 20 minutes before the game yesterday. So we talked about it ad nauseum, but barely mentioned it today. And the guy had 4 goals since we last had a show. Pretty impressive stuff. We also have talked pretty regularly about the goaltending with you. Ilya Samsonov was pretty good last game. I didn't think overly tested, but could you get to a point where you go, okay, I think Sam and JD talked about he's the real starter over Joe Woll on the weekend. Maybe Bunk did. Is that
Bunk
right?
said it.
Bunk did? Okay. What are your thoughts on where Samsonov's at?
Yeah, you got to watch Sammy and that with his off the wheels project. He gets excited about anything, whatever. The guy makes 2 saves. He's talking Vezina. So I always felt great about Freddie Anderson, and he never delivered in the playoffs. These guys I don't feel great about, but as long as one of them could do it, and I believe they can, then that's all you need. And is there a Matt Murray sighting too as well? I'm not thinking he'd be there, but he may even be around as well. Joe Woll, I think, is going to be their first really developed goaltender since Felix Potvin. I really like what I saw. I give Samsonov tons of credit and the team about how they handled it. I don't know if Martin Jones can do it in the playoffs, but he certainly came up at a critical time. So they've all come through in different measures. So can one of them give you, or maybe 2, because Bobrovsky didn't start the first game for last year for Florida, and Vegas went through 2 goaltenders as well, give you a minimum good enough goaltending to win playoff games, or ideally steal an odd playoff game or steal a series. Felix Potvin got 3 shutouts in one series in 1994 against Chicago. That's what you'd love to see at some point. Different ways that you find ways to win playoff series. And I believe these guys can do it. Am I doing cartwheels? Well, I don't do cartwheels for starter. But do I have some trepidation? Do I say, you got to show me? I'm in that particular boat.
But we look at the East, Gord, and we say, who exactly is doing cartwheels lately? The Boston Bruins have gone south in the last couple of weeks, and so has their goaltendings, come down to earth. You mentioned Bobrovsky, and yes, he's been good lately. But would you put the last 4 years up against the last year and a half and be totally confident that he's still going to get the job done? And then Shesterkin, I'm watching the outdoor game, and I'm watching Bo Horvat put the puck right through him.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're like, okay, if the Leafs aren't feeling that great about their goaltending, well, guess what? So are a lot of other teams.
Well, and you add Vasilevsky to the mix as well. That's a real good point about, Shesterkin had that phenomenal season that he's not quite replicated. And then Vasilevsky, I know the players ranked him in their poll as the number 1 goaltender, but even last year in the playoffs, that was for him an ordinary playoff. So it's funny. Yeah, Chicago won that one playoff when Corey Crawford just got criticized every playoff round, and they just went and won it anyway, because he gave them good enough goaltending to win it. I'm thinking of the days of, a goaltender actually being the story in the playoffs, right? Being the guy. And I really can't think of so many in recent history that's been the Patrick Waugh type story when he was a player or what have you. So again, it's just good enough to win, to keep you in the game, not cost you any games. Because you look at it, there's Lundqvist is gone, Carey Price is gone, Pekka Rinne's gone. I don't know if it's because a lot of elite goaltenders left at the same time or what it is. But you're right, you don't have that wow factor about that number of quantity of NHL goaltenders like we did a decade or 2 ago.
Well, speaking of a decade or 2 ago, we're even past that, Gord. Marshall Rafai plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs last night, and they're without Rielly, Giordano, Klingberg, if you like, Lagesson, Timmins. He's probably their 12th guy on the depth chart. What would have looked like when you played, Kip and Gord, when you were the GM, if you called up the 12th best defenseman in your organization? Do these orgs deserve some credit for having guys that far down who can step in and look pretty capable?
Boy, yeah. I think I'd be broadcasting a lot sooner if you're down to your 12th defenseman back then. Maybe I remember once we made a trade just for a body. And that's why I always talk about that last year he might have had to do that, Kyle Dubas, when he had 3 defensemen injured. We got a guy named Mike Stothers who played for Hershey in the Philadelphia organization. We had to do that. We called up a junior before, like Daryl Shannon. I'm not sure if DJ Smith got called up when he was a junior or not, but but we're talking about 8, 9, 10. I mean, it's the toughest position to learn to play. And one thing that's changed too, Justin, is they're really being taught how to play in the minors. They're coming out so well taught now.
Yeah.
Whether it's NCAA, junior, you could argue maybe too much sometimes, but that sometimes that you threw them on your American League team. It was a crony of the general manager was coaching. There wasn't a lot of teaching. There weren't even assistant coaches. So you plunked them up there and you said, okay, go on the deep end of the pool and see what happens. But that is and again, let's have it matter in the playoffs. Let's find the depth in the playoffs that you can throw 4 lines out there, that Austin Matthews isn't playing 28 minutes and Mitch Marner isn't playing 27 minutes and on and on and on. Let's find that, because that's always a difference maker in the team that ultimately wins it.
So saying that, Gord, you're on board that Treliving and Shanahan got to do whatever it takes at the trade deadline to beef this thing up here. You've got 2 of the hottest scorers on the planet in Marner and Matthews. They're in their prime. Willie looks like he can still score even if he disappears for 57 minutes. He can still break a game open with one dash down the ice. You have to do whatever it takes now if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs to get ready for the playoffs.
What does that statement mean? Whatever it takes.
First rounders, prospects outside of maybe Nyes or Cowan.
No.
Yes.
Uncle.
No.
I'm out. No more.
No.
More.
You're going to sit and wait for another 3 years, Gord, if you don't go for it this year.
What are you talking about? How did it happen the last few years when they gave up stuff? I'm sorry that it won't be the same headlines for Sportsnet and the Fan, like, wow, the Leafs do whatever, that they're instead at the back thing. And by the way, the Leafs got Neil Padoink for, I know it's Pionk, whatever. So I'm just saying, make some smart depth moves. Those quite often are the ones that, hey, Ron Hainsey in Pittsburgh, Trevor Daley in Pittsburgh, Steve Thomas years ago with the Anaheim Ducks, whatever. Those kind of ones. You cannot keep giving up assets. It has not worked. The big guns have to be the leaders there, and other guys have to come up and play and get the opportunity to show they can provide the depth or not.
I'm so happy you're not the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs right now.
A lot of people are very
happy. We need to drum up action.
You would make our show so boring, Gord Stellick.
But not this show. No. He doesn't make our real show boring.
No. Always bringing it to the fans.
Well, okay, but who are they supposed to get? Who are they getting, Kippy? Who are they getting?
Oh, I still think that they need Tanev more than anything else out there. When Morgan returns, he needs a guy like Chris Tanev to play beside him. That's what I think.
Well, and I'd like it. I remember years ago they couldn't get Rob Blake. They were going to take him as a hired gun, but he would not sign beyond. And of course, he wasn't.
Tanev will have no problem signing here.
Well, okay. Well,
Bring me Tanev.
Then I would look at that. I'm not backing down, Kippy.
Okay.
Because I'm still, it's up. Like, we can't keep every year. Ryan O'Reilly to the rescue. Nick Foligno. Giordano. Come on. That's a bad horse impersonation.
All right.
But, they got the big guns. They're the guys, okay? They get the Stanley Cup first if you get it. The others are complementary pieces.
All right. Good enough until next week. We'll bring you back and we'll see if you changed your mind, okay?
Okay.
Gord Stellick, everybody.
Thanks, Gordo. Appreciate it.
See you guys.
The Leafs are in on Tanev. They're on the outside looking in right now. There's better offers.
You know, want to know my real opinion on the Tanev thing? They should just give him the first right now and get him. They should just do it.
Well, listen.
He'll resign here. You'll keep Tanev.
And you know how better Morgan Rielly gets with that guy beside you?
And all of a sudden, then your pair is you can do, Benoit and McCabe and Brody with Liljegren.
Yes.
And then he blocks the shot with his face.
Yes, I say give up the first for him. You'll sign him to $4.5 million for the next. No, it'll be fine. Brody's gone. There'll be a lot of guys gone. You'll be fine.
Is Brody part of the trade?
No, the salary will disappear, right, for next year. That's all. Okay. They'll make it work. It's easy. Money in, money out. No problem. Okay, still plenty more on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Sean Reynolds, as we discuss Winnipeg and Minnesota. Remember last time what happened?
I do.
We'll let you know after we take a break. More Real Kyper and Bourne coming up next. Welcome back to the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We got it nationally. We are live on Sportsnet, Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver. We are giving Calgary the day off, aren't we, Sammy?
Yeah, they've got some sort of event going on out there, charity event, and they're doing some radio stuff, and there you go.
Don't tell them. I never liked them anyway.
We
can't hear us.
Oh, I forgot.
I'm kidding. I love them.
Let's take the Leafs jersey
love
down.
everybody.
Of course we do.
All right.
Of course.
This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. We got Sean Reynolds in a few minutes here. We're going to revisit that whole Winnipeg, Minnesota thing because it's my understanding that the league has made it very clear to both teams that we'll be watching.
No funny business. Is Bettman in the house?
No funny. I don't know if he's going to go.
He likes to do that. He likes like a parent helicopter.
There'll be some reps there for sure.
You guys remember that Ryan Hartman told Perfetti he was going to stick him, then he stuck him. Then
we have the
was
clip.
upset. Oh, we have the clip? Do we have it available to us?
Yeah, let's hear it again, just so we can remind everybody.
We do have the clip. We do.
Well, let's do that.
He made it pretty obvious. He said it in kind of a respectful way. He said, no disrespect, nothing against you, just had to happen. Something had to happen against, what happened to Kypreos there. I mean, he's obviously going to be out for a little bit, and I don't think Dilly was trying to hurt him. I think he was just playing heavy, and that's just that play happens. He wasn't, I don't think, trying to be a bad guy. I think he was just, that's what he thought he needed to do to get back at us, and that's what he chose to do. Saying to a couple of guys, lucky it wasn't like a cheap shot hit or from behind or to the head or something that could have been serious. Luckily, it was just a couple stitches, and kind of a weird thing to come out and admit it. That blatantly said that, it was for what happened. Well, I didn't even do anything. It had nothing to do with it, and I mean, hey, whatever. It's all good. I was mic'd up, so I don't know if he realized that or not. I mean, they're supposed to get notified, but to come out and blatantly say it to the mic, it worked out in our favor.
How long ago was that? Because I don't remember that kid talking so much.
I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago. Is there anything more insane, though, than how cool he is with it? He's just like, so he said he's going to take my lunch money. He said he was going to buy greens and a healthy meal. So he just, he just totally fine.
Way too much talking.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I know that was Hartman's beef later that he,
just
going to mom and dad and saying he said he's going to do it and they did it. He meant to.
Is that the new era where you just spill your beans like that and just, I don't know.
It was a month ago, by the way.
I don't know.
A month ago, yeah.
We have a clip later in the show where Matt Martin and is it Rempe got in a fight in the outdoor game or whatever, and talking about the respectful way that their fight went down. I think there's still guys who, old guard way of thinking a little bit. But this is funny that he was like.
Do we have that clip?
Well, yeah,
play it.
Oh, you want to play it right away?
Yeah.
So let's just play it.
The 6'7" kid, first game of the NHL. Matt Martin grants him a fight, against anyway. And so, let's listen to what Rempe had to say about their fight.
Had a hell of a career, the tough guy and a great player. And I don't know, we didn't say anything in warm-ups, made eye contact a couple times, but then first shift we lined up there and he told me congrats and he's asking me if I wanted it. And I was like, hell yeah, I wanted it. And then we went and that was awesome. It was a lot of fun and good fight. Got to fire up the crowd after. It was unreal atmosphere, yeah.
Looked like he said something to you in the penalty box.
Yeah.
What was he?
He was just telling me congrats on the first game type of thing, and just told me to enjoy it and stuff, and told me hell of a fight. So it was good, and I gave him his respect as well. It's a hell of a tough customer. He also told me that he fought Chara, and he's like, I think you're longer than. He's telling me that he thinks I was longer than him, my arm. So I was like, oh yeah, very cool.
Longer than Chara.
Okay,
that's still too much talking for you, isn't it?
Oh my God, I'm just. It bothers me.
Really?
Can you just pretend you hate each other for us, please? Congratulations. Storytelling in the penalty box. I love Matt Martin.
Beat it.
Yes.
Love him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's the story I want to hear when you're old and fat like me, and you're around a bar or you're on a podcast and you're not now. I don't want to hear.
I hate when this happens, but you're right.
It's hey, you can't make us like you. We don't want to like you. We want to hate you.
I despise that dude.
And you've been on this course with me too. Like you have said that where's the hate? You want the hate. The hate's good for the fans.
It is. And
what are you guys going fishing later on this summer?
That's the thing. If you immediately void the relevance of the fight, not like a Ranger Islander or rivalry, whatever, if you make the fight to be a sideshow and you tell people it's a sideshow, kind of takes away from the point of what's happening out there.
It's not a staged fight, but
I wanted this clip because I love Matt Martin, and I think it's really a noble thing to give a kid a shot.
Hey, Matt Martin's not telling the story of what was said in the penalty box. This kid just needs to shut up.
Like Matt Martin might fight him next time for telling the story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't tell everybody how nice I am.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good turn I didn't expect.
That is not where I thought we were going, boys.
Why can't you just pretend
Kip,
like you guys...
We need these people to talk for our show.
Why
if you talk him out of it, you're going to kill our show.
You hate Matt Martin. He's old. Your day is over. I'm the new guy. I'm the new sheriff in town. That's what we want to hear.
To be honest, I didn't appreciate a guy, trying to fire up the crowd after you've been gifted the fight, as you put it.
I think if they had have lost that game, as opposed to having like an epic comeback outdoors against their bitter rival.
High.
He's pretty fired up after the game. He's fired up. He got in his first NHL fight. Was it like his first game? Like it's just he's just a little horned up. And he told stories out of school. And I think Kyper's unfortunately probably right.
We need these people, right? We need them to do words.
Okay, we got Sean Reynolds coming up here, and he's going to tell us that it's going to get ugly tonight between Minnesota and Winnipeg, or else I'm leaving. I'm done for this. I'm done for the day. If they start congratulating each other, then Sean, I'm done. I'm done, pal. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Okay. In saying that, what do we expect? I do know that the league had talked to both teams, and there's a sense that we want you on your best behavior. But what do you expect tonight between Minnesota and Winnipeg based on their last game?
Well, you know what I find so fascinating about it is the way the Jets handled this rivalry the first time. Like the first game, they handled their business. They get Kypreos, they knock him out of the game. Minnesota comes looking for retribution. They don't get it. They try and get it at the beginning of the next game. They don't get it. And I can tell you this from talking to guys in the dressing room, there was a real feeling in the Jets dressing room that they walked away from that series being like, hey, tell us how you want to play it and we'll beat you in that manner, right? And I kind of love that. I love that attitude. I'm sure you saw a lot of that in your day, playing that what are you going to do about it kind of mindset. We're going to do this. What are you going to do about it? I feel like the Jets had a little bit of that going on. So because of that, you'd think that maybe Minnesota's coming in here and they feel like they need to have an answer because it's 2 games in a row. They tried to answer and really didn't answer in an effective manner. But here's the problem. The last time Minnesota came rolling through Winnipeg, they were the hottest team in the league since they'd had their new head coach. They looked like they were overcoming their early season issues and on their way to getting into a playoff spot. And then the Winnipeg Jets broke them. They broke their spines over their knee like it was some kind of Batman supervillain or something like that. And then they've been lost in the woods for a while. Now they're starting to come back. They can't afford that to happen again. So never mind that the league is probably trying to pour water on this. I don't think the Minnesota Wild are in a place where they can get so involved with the Winnipeg Jets that they're losing players, that they're getting heated, that they're getting away from the focus of what they need to be doing, because they're on a heater again. They're looking like that team that is, hard to play against, going to make the playoffs, going to make someone's life miserable in at least that first round. That's what they're trending towards. They were knocked off that course by the Winnipeg Jets last time because they got so focused in on revenge and retribution. So for their sake, I don't know that they can really dive into that idea and indulge in that. I think they need to be very focused on, trying to beat the Jets here and earn those points to, they're close, guys. They're trying to get above that playoff line. They haven't been able to get there all year. That 8th place is up for grabs, and they need to grab for it.
Yeah, St. Louis stinks. We watched them yesterday. So there is going to be a big 2 points on the table for both teams. The Jets dropped one to the Flames after putting 3 wins together. Just give us a state of the Jets, where they're at. They're still only behind about 5 teams in the NHL in points and points percentage. Where are things at with the Jets these days?
Well, the last time I talked with y'all, they were like playing the best possible version of hockey they could be playing. And they were on a heater, and they were so hard to score against. They still remain a team that's hard to score against. I see the Jets in a spot where you see a lot of teams right now. I could think of a team like, the Rangers have kind of been in there. The Vegas Golden Knights have kind of been in there. I think those teams understand. Vegas, I think, is really knowledgeable of this. That, like, you know what, you're not winning the Stanley Cup in early February, mid-February. So I think there's a little bit of, taking the foot off the gas pedal thing and then finding it at the right time and stepping on it and heading into the playoffs hot. The concern, if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, is the Jets traditionally have been like this years past, but they never find the gas pedal again. Once they take a step back and take a breather and say, okay, we don't need to be this good for 82 games a year, they've had a hard time finding it again. I think we're right now in their, it's hard. It's that winter grind that they're in the middle of now, so they're having a hard time getting motivated. The games that we've seen them lose, I think, are more not structural issues, not playing the game the right way, just not playing the game hard enough to get past some teams. The Vancouver game tells me, if I'm a Jets fan, I'll be okay with it. Just like, guys, if you remember when the Oilers were about to set the record for the most straight wins, then they went in and they played the Vegas Golden Knights. And if you watch that game, what you saw was the Vegas Golden Knights looking exactly like they did last season in the playoffs. So they know what their identity is supposed to be. They wanted to find it that game. They went out and they found it. And to me, I looked at that and I thought, okay, anyone who's discounting the Vegas Golden Knights going into the playoffs this year, you do so at your own peril. I think the Winnipeg Jets, that game against Vancouver was their version of that. Yeah. They know what makes them best. And whoever watched that game, I know a lot of people across Canada did. That was the Jets saying, okay, we need these guys to score. We need Connor Hellebuck to play like this. We need to defend like this. So they know what makes them successful. They went out and they found it. Now, are they finding it consistently? Clearly, they, show up the next game and don't bring it there. But I think the Jets are that team who are comfortably in a playoff spot. They're going to do what they need to do to get to the playoffs and trying to ramp it up towards the end. I think that's a good sign how they played against Vancouver.
We're talking to Sean Reynolds, Sportsnet's Eyes in Winnipeg and co-host of the Kenny and Rennie post-game show. So, Sean, we know Sean Monahan is actually putting the puck in the net at a much greater rate than I think we all expected. Besides the 3 goals against Calgary, what have you seen?
Well, but the first 4 games, he wasn't scoring at all. He didn't get any points. And one of the issues there is, if you know this team, the Jets need to get their second line scoring going. They haven't had it all year. Their depth scoring has come from their third and fourth line, which I don't think you can expect to continue the pace they had hit at the beginning of the year towards the end of the season, and definitely not in the playoffs. So they need to get their second line scoring going, and Monahan is a big part of that. They hadn't really done it in the first 4 games. Now, all of a sudden, he's got 4 goals in his last 4 periods of hockey, but a couple of them came on the power play, which has also been a problem for the Jets. He got put into that bumper spot to try and solve a problem. Looks like he's figuring something out, and they're doing that. But the one thing that you will see is when he's not scoring points, he still helps you. He's really good on draws. He's really good defensively. So the Jets went out and they got a player who, no matter if he shows up on the score sheet, is going to do very good things for this team. And I don't know if it's going to take going out and getting another player to kind of alter the chemistry of that second line. It still hasn't got going. And I don't think he's going to be the silver bullet solution for that. But he came in, he put 2 hands on the rope, and he started pulling. He's that kind of player. Whether they're going to get scoring the way they need to on that second line, that's the question. Give them a little bit more time to see where they're at. And they've got a little bit of time to decide if they need to address it by adding another piece there before the trade deadline arrives.
The Jets are the best team by goals against per game in the NHL. Connor Hellebuck hadn't given up 4 goals since November 2nd. An unbelievable run of defensive play. On the offensive side of the puck, a couple of guys maybe a little bit lagging behind their usual pace right now, slumping a little bit. Who are the players who are kind of struggling a little bit and have room to pick it up?
Well, Cole Perfetti has gone dead quiet and hasn't produced points in quite some time now. Vladislav Nemestikov got moved from the second line. We talked about him last time I was on the show, down to the fourth line. So it's going to be harder for him to produce in that role there. Nick Ehlers, when he's on a line with Mark Scheifele and Gabe Vilardi, is a god, right? Like they were, I think, by a lot of metrics, were basically like the fifth best line in hockey when they were put together. It's clearly not a place, for whatever reason. He was asked about it today and, was a little bit vague about it. It's clearly a place that Rick Bowness doesn't want to go back to. He wants to have Kyle Connor with Mark Scheifele again. And maybe that's just common sense, right? If you take a step back, one person on this team is better at scoring goals than everybody else. That's Kyle Connor. He, based on the question you asked, is another guy they could sure get going a little bit more. And maybe that's the case there, that they need to get him scoring again at the pace. Hey, before he went out with his injury, he was challenging Austin Matthews for the number one goal scorer in the league. That's clearly not the case anymore. So there's a lot of room for guys to pick things up here. The last couple of games, they finally kind of broke through and scored a little bit. Before that, this team was absolutely atrocious when it came to scoring. That's going to be the concern with this team. For the most part, other than that last game was probably the first time in half a season, guys, a half of a full season, that the Jets fell out of their defensive structure that makes them so strong. But the failure of this team, if you had to put money on it, is likely going to be, if they go to the playoffs, they won't be easy to score against, but they'll probably, if they do get knocked out, find themselves in a situation where they find another team that can grind like they can, but they can just put the puck in the net more often. There's far too much pressure on Mark Scheifele to drive this team offensively right now. They need more.
There's a sense I'm getting that there might be one or two teams ready to pull the trigger on Chris Tanev. Would Winnipeg be in the mix here, or are they rather comfortable with their blue line right now?
I think that I think the message you would get from Kevin Cheveldayoff, if you put a microphone in his face and a TV camera and had him, forced him to
we
make
know
a
the tagline. Anything to make our team better.
Yeah, that. But even with him, he'll tell you that he's comfortable in that situation and that he's not looking for. You'll never hear Kevin Cheveldayoff say, we'd like to go out and try and get this and try and get that. And I think he doesn't like the idea of putting that out there, because then if he doesn't get it,
what do you think?
Basically. What I think is, they need to. And to be honest with you, I think they think the same thing. The answer to your question is yes. They'd love to get a guy like Chris Tanev. They'd love to have a little bit more size on their blue line. They defend extremely well as a team, but they're not the biggest defense. And you know what? We know that the playoffs are another level of grit and determination, that when you're 20 pounds heavier and 2 inches taller, you can stand up to that. We would look exactly at what we saw from the defense of the Vegas Golden Knights last year. Like, when you get beasts like that, it's hard to get past those guys. We saw it from Montreal when they went to the Cup final in the COVID year. They had trees on defense, and you could not get through that forest to the front of the net. The Winnipeg Jets play really, really good structured hockey, but they don't have the kind of defense that you just can't muscle past. Really big, strong guys will be able to push Dylan DeMello, Neil Pionk, players like that to the net. So yes, they could use more size, no doubt.
So the Jets are going to finish in the top 3 in their division. At this point, St. Louis is the team behind them, and they're 11 points back and have 2 extra games played. Like, they're going to be in the top 3. How do you handicap the Jets against Colorado and Dallas? And just how important is it for them to finish on top of that division and maybe draw someone like the Blues that they should be able to eat up?
So they would, I think, easily eat up the Blues, especially compared to the way these teams stack up. The Blues don't like to grind at all, and the Winnipeg Jets can grind. So that would be a good finish, but you'd probably need to finish first place in the entire conference to pull that off. I don't see them getting ahead of LA, so you'd have to finish first. I don't like the Jets' chances of that. I actually think, based on what I've seen from Colorado, like, Colorado is really being driven by their star defenders and Nathan McKinnon and Rantanen right now, but the rest of their lineup, when I see them play the Jets, if those guys aren't winning it for them, the rest of that Colorado depth forward group is not winning it for them. I think that Colorado is a significant second line center away from being a team that can make any kind of noise in the playoffs, and I don't know that the market bears that out. The Jets have beat them twice so far this year, and not only have they beat them twice, but when they play Winnipeg Jets brand of hockey. And hey, this is when Nathan MacKinnon was in that streak of scoring points. He still scored points in those games. So the best part of the Colorado Avalanche showed up, and the Jets still handled them because the depth really can't do anything against the Winnipeg Jets. So, I mean, I think if the Jets ended up jumping up and finishing second in the conference and they ran into the LA Kings, I think that's a harder matchup in the playoffs than the Colorado Avalanche is. So I think the Jets, whether they finish first, second, or third, it doesn't make that big of a difference. There may even be more of a punishment if they finish first.
I'll throw this out to both of you, and Sean, you go first. But what did you make out of the Vancouver Canucks giving up 14 goals over Family Day weekend?
So Murph had me come in, and I covered and hosted a couple games for them. They went on that 7-game road trip where they won the 5 in the middle. I bookended and covered the first game against the St. Louis Blues
this team
and
sucks.
the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they lost both those games against the Blues and Blue Jackets. And what I saw different between, the Winnipeg Jets team that I cover and the Canucks game that I covered, the Winnipeg Jets, if you beat them, you're going to have to beat them at their own game. They're going to force you to play a grinding style of hockey. Now, some teams, like I said, are going to be able to grind and maybe have more scoring than the Jets and may beat them that way, but you're going to have to play it on the Jets' terms. What I see from the Canucks is a team that goes out and plays on their terms for parts of the game, but then turns around and lets the other team dictate the way a game goes for far too large of swaths of the game. So they did it against St. Louis, and St. Louis likes to, they're not the grind team we saw in 2019. They like to dipsy doodle. They like to be wide open. They like to score. And the Canucks let them do that, and they lost that game and then went in against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And yes, it was the end of a road trip. They'd had that, the crazy snowstorm in Buffalo. So maybe they were just tired. But what I saw was them hand over to the Columbus Blue Jackets to their style of play the third period, in which they came back, tied it up, and then won it in a shootout. I saw the same thing against the Jets, where they were kind of giving it to the Jets, and then all of a sudden they said, okay, now you play it your way for a while, and that led to them losing to the Jets. And it's the same thing against the Minnesota Wild. What I see in the Canucks is a team that shoots and shoots out in parts of the game and is very, very good at those points of the game, but then they take the foot off the gas pedal and they let the other team do what they want to do. I just think that's not a recipe that gets you by really good teams. A team like Vegas, I think, is going to destroy you in the playoffs if you play like that against them. And I've seen Vancouver do it too many times this year for me not to think that it's really kind of part of their identity and who they are.
Yeah, that's a big challenge for Rick Tocchet. Like, I really like the Canucks, and I think teams have games. There's blips here where you're like, that's a good team that just had a bad night. Like, that does happen. But you're right. Once you stack it up a few in a row, that's a challenge for Tocchet. Is to, how do you get rid of the dips and kind of keep it consistent? Which brings me to the question about the coaching there in Winnipeg and the candidacy for Jack Adams for Rick Bowness. Do you think he's got a reasonable case to make if this team is able to continue their winning percentage all the way through game 82?
He's got a reasonable case, and here I am saying what I'm saying about the Canucks. But if you take a look at where the Canucks were last year to where they are now, I think it's pretty hard to head ahead of Rick Tocchet. But I also think, guys, like, when you see how things ended for the Jets last year and how Rick Bowness called his team out and the kind of animosity that seemed to exist, for him to kind of smooth that over the offseason and get the buyback that he got from his team, not just like this season, but instantly out of the gates, this team was playing his brand of hockey. They came back stronger and more committed to Rick Bowness, and they did it right out of the gate. So to me, I had a big question about the Jets coming into the season because I didn't know whether or not they would respond and get back in line with him. He's got them to that. What he's done as a coach this year, getting that team back and winning them back over, is an absolutely massive play that for sure he should be in the final running for that trophy. But boy, oh boy, the swing of points. And let's be honest, Vancouver was a team that couldn't figure it out for years. When you are that guy who finally helps figure it out and most of your stars stay the same, there wasn't massive changeover, even though there was some changeover on defense. It's hard to get ahead of Rick Tocchet.
Yeah. Sean, great stuff, man. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be watching and looking forward to those first couple of shifts. Minnesota and Winnipeg get reacquainted tonight. Hartman versus Cole Perfetti. Is that what we're calling it?
No, they're not going to fight.
Come on, help me build something up here, Sean.
Yeah. You're trying. It's trying. Anyway, hey, I hope my T-shirt passed your test. You ripped me on it after I got off last time. I'll be listening to see what you got to say this time, Kyper.
Yes, I love it.
No, not me.
Yeah,
I think it was the other two clowns here.
Yeah.
Great stuff,
Thanks,
Sean.
Sean. Appreciate it, guys.
Sean Reynolds does a great job for us in Winnipeg, covering the Jets. Kenny and Rennie post-game show.
With Ken Wiebe, who we have on too as well, from Winnipeg as well. So there you go.
Good stuff. What do you expect tonight? Do you think there are fireworks?
There'll be a fight for sure. It can't go completely unnoticed, or there has to be a little bit. I think one fight just kind of cleans everything up.
Captain Lowry versus Foligno.
There's a very good chance it'll be Lowry probably.
Yeah.
I love that Lowry. I was watching the Saturday night game against the Canucks.
Just a horse.
And I don't know who he hammered somebody. Clean hit, great play. And that poor DiGiuseppe came in to be like, I'm getting in for my teammate.
Yeah.
And he just pounded him,
yes.
took him down, and DiGiuseppe gets the extra 2. They score on the power play. It's like, oh, that did not work out well for you guys.
That's captain material.
No, he's a really good player, but I miss this stuff. When I was like a kid and into my teenage years, it's like this was a thing. There was like blood rivalries
games
where it was like, oh, this is what happened in the last game. There's going to be a scrap in this. These guys are going to have to answer. Like, what was it between Probert and Domi that they were going to get suspended if they fought again? Remember that? It was like if like you consider it, you both are gone for how long, and of course they fought. Like I remember this stuff.
There's documentaries that just like tell you about the hype over that thing. It was off the charts.
It was insane.
Well,
leading
in talking
sports shows.
Yeah. In talking to my father-in-law, Clark Gillies, one of the things he didn't love fighting necessarily, but the thing he hated was the build-up. When you went into a game and it was like, I got to fight Ben Wilson tonight. Like, he got me last time. My teammates saw it. I can't not fight him now. I got to get that title back, And it's like, eating dinner, the meal the night before, going to bed and being like sick to your stomach, being like, it's a big tough guy I got to fight tomorrow. Even for tough guys, not fun. And I'm sure you can relate
going to
to
sleep
that.
thinking about Tony Twist.
Yeah, chasing me. Not a great feeling.
Yeah.
But our game has to hit an emotional element to it, or else it loses a lot. And I'm not to take away. I'm not taking away the skill of it, but skill alone can still make a game feel not as eventful.
Oh, I mean, watch the NBA All-Star game. Like, you can't just have people be good at the sport without there being some physical investment.
How about the articles right now over, like, what do we do with this?
It's nice that it's not
breakfast.
us.
Oh, yeah.
Like they are just screaming, end it.
It's great that we got through the
211 points.
It's way more painful than anything in hockey, including the Superman and the rubber nose. Well, maybe a tie.
Well, we got through the All-Star game that was here, and everyone loved it.
It was awesome.
And there isn't another one until 2026. It's like we're on the easy street with the All-Star game here, but I don't know. I've said it a million times on the show, but the great thing about hockey is the skill with the constant threat of complete chaos. That's what makes hockey great.
That's why it needs to maintain. You need to keep that in the game, and I think the league struggles to walk the line of being like, we want this, but we can't openly encourage it.
Yes.
Like, we can't be on the hook for the damage that comes with this, but we are selling it to some extent. And
yeah,
it's that skill level you want to see, along with players looking uncomfortable.
Well, you have to win the puck in physical confrontations. The intimidation is real because you go man to man into these battles, and that's always going to be an element of it. And we need to preserve that for sure, because it is part of what makes it great.
I hope Winnipeg and Minnesota are listening to us right now.
Just a complete no-hitter tonight.
Promise they're not.
Something.
It's game time?
I believe it is.
Okay. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Now, there's some good games tonight, and I have a few for you. First one I have is Vancouver in Colorado tonight, plus 125. I have a feeling that they're getting their starting goalie back in net. Rick Tocchet is their coach. I can only imagine some of the things that Mr. Tocchet said to the Canucks after they allowed 10 goals into their net.
Two empties, though.
I know, but 8 before that's not great.
7 in the third period.
I had to shut my phone on and off because I thought 10-7 was wrong.
I know.
You're getting the NBA All-Star Game score.
How about this stat? Wild beat the Canucks 10-7. It's the first NHL game where both teams scored 7+ goals on fewer than 30 shots since March 30th, 1988. Kings scored 9 on 28. Flames scored 7 on 28.
3 hat tricks in the game.
Your boy wasn't even born at that point yet. So
in 1908?
March 9th, 1988. Anyways, I do like the Canucks tonight in Colorado. I think it's a bounce back spot for a team that's good. They get their starting goalie in there. Tocchet would have torn a strip off the wall. So give me them tonight. The other one I'm looking at that I'm interested in is Vegas. They have Nashville coming to town after the Sphere Gate.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I bet on Vegas already.
If the Nashville's ever going to go into Las Vegas and give them a hell of an effort and maybe win, tonight would be a night for them to do that. I don't highly recommend it because Vegas is way better.
Yeah.
But if tonight was ever going to be the night, they're plus 120 in Vegas.
Okay, so you revisit basically the storyline here about a team
Nashville
that had their cake taken away from them.
Oh, they couldn't go to see crappy U2.
Nashville had tickets booked for the team to go see U2 at the Sphere. Everyone was kind of looking forward to that. They played a couple of games where they, got stuffed in a locker. They got embarrassed a couple of games, and Trotz and their staff said, "We're not rewarding this team. We're focusing on winning." And so they took away this trip.
God, I love that.
And our panel talked about.
God, I love it.
Listen, I had it to happen to me, not U2 in the Sphere, but had stuff taken away over my career where we had days off or trips or whatever because we sucked.
But it was the ECHL. It wasn't U2 at the Sphere.
No, it was definitely not. But, I get it. Your professional hockey players paid to win hockey games. This isn't a class field trip that you're owed.
Yeah.
Perform.
And some are complaining that, the staff... It rips off the staff.
Yeah, and I get that sentiment that they deserve that.
I don't get that. Why is that? Listen, I love staff. I love the staff. I tip my trainers. You do all of that. You love these guys. They look after you. But they're only an extension of the on-ice product at the end of the day. So they need to suffer with the players. You're all in it together. There's no separation here.
No, you're pulling on one rope.
You want to get a Stanley Cup ring when we win. Rope. Yeah, when we lose, you don't get the rewards either.
Not playing well, sharpen my skates better. Not playing well, I need better therapy. We either suck together or we are great together. Yeah. But none of this. Oh, you know what? The staff deserve better, even though we suck.
Totally.
No.
So having said all that,
yes,
I like Nashville tonight against the Vegas Golden Knights. I just think there's a chance that they respond, and if they don't, it's a bigger conversation. But I think they'll be in that game.
I always hated, and I know you're trying to wrap this up.
No, I got two more picks.
Keep doing words.
Yeah,
I always hated when a coach would make a statement to me or the team like we need to be better, so I'd get healthy. You'd say I got to sit out a game, and then you come back. You have to play well and want to play well to maintain your spot, but you don't want to reward your coach for punishing you. They took away U2 at the Sphere, and you're going to go give him the best effort you got? You were a pro, so you have to. You have to go do it.
You are going to give it because if it doesn't get better, that's just an example of how I'm going to make your life miserable here. This ain't a country club, okay? No. It's not. You're here to get the job done and win, and if it's not a very pleasant place to be around. I'm okay with that message.
That's why losing sucks. You go to the rink every day, and it's like, what now? What is the damage?
Andrew Burnett's going to come into that locker room and be like, we're going to win with or without you. With or without you. Anyways, my next pick is...
Keep your day job, buddy.
I'm sitting. You're sitting here. Right? You're looking at it.
Bad news. This is it.
Or I'm firing you. You don't have a day job anymore.
Give me the Kachuk parlay tonight. Both of them to score a goal. with the over pays plus 700. I feel like the total is 6.5. I feel like the Cats could get that on their own.
Alrighty.
And my last one, just a shot. Sidney Crosby to score a goal in the first period tonight pays plus 600.
Ooh.
And that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break.
Yep.
Yes, please.
Sammy, I got your permission to do that?
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we'll discuss a little above a Yager's great weekend.
Yager,
And what are the Penguins going to do next?
Put him in the lineup.
That and more when Real Kyper and Bourne comes back. We are back. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Pittsburgh Penguins raised number 68 to the rafters, reuniting Yager, Lemieux as franchise icons. And, it's kind of crazy that Yager didn't want this because his last memories were being booed by Penguin fans because he ended up in a Washington Capital jersey and
their biggest rivals, the Flyers, the
Rangers, and it's like I know that
he didn't want this.
Guys very seldom end their careers with the same club that they start, but is that a thing really that someone? I don't know. I guess I'm talking to you. You're from Long Island where they boo Tavares now after 10 years of, I guess, is that kind of like our fans now because it speaks to the loyalty, right? A little bit. I don't know, but isn't that kind of pushing it a little bit?
It is where you don't maybe appreciate all the greatness and time and effort that people gave to you while they were there.
Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest moments.
What's he in all-time points? Is he second?
Maybe the reason,
I don't know what he is.
Maybe the reason they hate him is they booed him was because of this trade from Washington. Oh my God!
What was it? Adam Oates?
No, traded from the Pittsburgh Penguins with František Kusera for Chris Beach, Ross Lupacek, and Michael Civic.
That didn't work out.
That was a bit of a miss.
Bit of a miss.
At the time though that trade. So how many years would he have been in his career?
The booing is because he asked for that trade, right? So this is the contention that he tried to kind of retcon this past week where he said, I never really got to tell my side of the story. I wanted to trade for the good of the franchise, which I didn't really appreciate or buy. But, whatever. He's a huge part of their history. He's up in the rafters.
11 years in Pittsburgh.
He was 11 years in Pittsburgh. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when he went to Washington and had nowhere near the success, people were starting to doubt that this guy's on the tail end.
Yeah.
And then all he did was, I think, end up with the Rangers and became one of the highest scoring Ranger in history up there with Adam Graves, over 50 goals.
He's in so after he got traded to the Caps, he went 79 points, 77 points, 45 points, and none of those were in full seasons. Then he went to the Rangers.
And lit it up again.
He was 29 points in 31 games the first year he was there. And then in the second year he was there in 05-06, he had 54 goals and 69 assists for 123 points. And then the next year he had 96 points.
That's off the charts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the guy's awesome. He's a unique guy. He's obviously deserving of his place in the rafters in Pittsburgh.
It was nice of him acknowledging his niece at the game.
Yeah, it was nice. She brought her along.
Oh, no, wait, sorry. Girlfriend.
Is that who she was? He actually made a really funny joke about how she wouldn't have remembered any of his performance with Pittsburgh. He's like, "Don't worry, guys, I've told her all about it." She's young.
No comment.
That's all.
No comment.
Just saying she's young.
No questions or comments at this time.
Yeah.
But it's funny because, a lot of Leaf fans would join me, and there's a lot of Leaf fans that listen to the show, join me in this opinion that he really grew into this sort of beloved character around the league. But I will tell you right now, there was no one amongst me and my young buddies that people hated more than Jaromir Jagr.
Really?
Because he was that good.
God. Oh, he was so good. And he played for the Czech team that beat Canada. And he was always, one of the best moments of my entire hockey watching life was Danny Markov well, bam. After Gary Volk scored in overtime to put out the Penguins, and that was at 99, 2000. And he gave him the how you do salute after they put him out, and Yager skating off the ice.
Sounds a lot like Ridley Gregg slapping a puck into the empty net, like a celebration. No,
salute. The fact that you just put those two in the same sentence, I'm done for today. You guys can figure out the rest. But no, it's just like he was a big time hated character, and he developed into more of a beloved guy. But I couldn't stand him my entire youth. Couldn't stand him.
Brian Leach, who's still regarded as one of the best defensemen in our history, says only one guy truly gave him fits, and that was Yager. You could
long
not touch
and
the
heavy
puck.
And smart, great hands.
Him in the corner with a long stick and the ass out.
Yeah,
it's.
Oh, he was nasty. He's a strange guy. The fitness stuff in the later years and the. Moving around team to team. He chose Philly over the Penguins when he came back and, playing at 51 in Kladno and
still plays.
Yeah.
4 helpers so far this year for Kladno.
You'd think.
How many games?
A few.
Yeah.
You'd think on a Yager night like that with Mario there, and you'd find a way to get a win. No, Pittsburgh.
Penguins are 3-6-1 in their last 10.
They've lost 4 out of 5, all in regulation. You can't even find a point in any of those losses.
They have some games in hand, but they're 9 points out of a playoff spot now, and there's only 30 games left for them.
And they
have to go over many teams.
I thought for sure this would not happen.
They should sell, Kip. They should sell. They are 9 points out and they got the Caps ahead of them, the Islanders ahead of them, the Devils ahead of them, and that's before you even get to the wild card spot.
I think Kyle Dubas is scared poo-poo.
To sell. To say to Sid, we're just not going to try hard the rest of the
Yeah, I want to see that. Put that on pay-per-view. Kyle Dubas and Sid having a conversation going. You guys stink.
Unload Gensel and do nothing.
And you're not going to a YouTube concert either if you planned one. Go get him, Kyle.
Yeah, he's got to keep that relationship strong, doesn't he? Oh, he's in a tough spot.
He's in a tough spot. And go tell Gino. Go tell Gino we need you to move your last year of your deal.
You need to put Gino on the second power play unit after you do this.
I got to say, congratulations on your generational wealth, Kyle. Clearly.
Yes.
But it's a way worse situation there than here.
But I think
he has a
7-year contract.
Yeah, so he wants to rebuild the team, the most beloved team in franchise history. He wants to nuke it and then try to build it again.
By the time his team is coming back up,
I don't think
contract's 5 years in.
See, I don't buy that theory. Like you're a wealthy man, and it's guaranteed. I'm sure you and your lawyers guaranteed it. But listen, if there's no signs of life in 2 or 3 years, they will
2 or 3
punt him.
A 7-year contract.
I don't care. He could be gone in less than 3 years. He could be gone in less than 3 years.
So his decisions here are important. And if he decides in 3 years, if he can say, I turned Gensel into a first and a prospect, if he can sell and show them what he's done.
If he can sell to Sid, I turned this into a first.
So what do you got for games ahead for them?
They're done.
Let's look at their schedule up to the...
I will say, Brendan Shanahan, if you're listening, which I know you listen every day, or whoever told him he couldn't do Carlson, thank you.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was not...
Whoever said that was not happening, I appreciate you personally.
I don't know. I don't even think that Pittsburgh Penguin fans realize what that pickup of Carlson at $10 million for the next 4 years or 3 years?
No, I think it's 3 years after this one. So,
3 years after this one, the effect that will have.
And they got the full boat. No, they're a little bit light on it, right? Did San Jose retain it all?
Yeah, they did. They did. So they brought it down to $10 million a year, I think.
That's nice.
Yeah, that helps.
How nice of them. What's their schedule?
On the way into the trade deadline, they have teams that are immediately ahead of them. Islanders, Canadians, Flyers. There's Canucks, Kraken, Flame. That's a lot of West teams. Blue Jackets, Capitals. So, they don't have a ton.
Speaking of teams that
opponents
are surprising me right now, I think there's a legit shot here that Tampa Bay could miss the playoffs.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Kip, they're well ahead in that wild card race, are they not?
Listen.
No, they're not.
No.
They're not. They're
No.
actually, because
No,
they've
they're
got the
not.
most games played.
They're not.
I think the Devils are still going to get in, and it kind of comes down to what the Islanders
I
do.
don't know what is going on with Tampa Bay, but I can't. And we heard Gord Stellick earlier on our show. We had a discussion on the goaltending and how many teams trust their goaltending, and Vasilevsky still has that aura around him that he is the best, and we know when he's hitting it on all cylinders, he is the best. But is there enough of a feeling that since his back surgery that he's clearly the same goalie he was prior?
He's played.
Doctor said I need a backiotomy.
He's played 32 games. He's won 19 of them. He has a 2.94 goals against and an 8.98 save percentage.
Yes.
They're just the bottom end. Like, they've tried so hard to keep their talent in the lineup, and make no mistake, their top end talent's as good as any team in the NHL. But their bottom six and their D,
Is Sergachev done? Can they go get Hannafin?
But like, they don't have. I don't think they have. I think we had the conversation. They don't have the assets, and is this the year you want to do that with them?
I think they're one of the more analytically inclined clubs, too. I don't think they will. I don't think they'll go in a year they can't win. The Atlantic is actually fascinating. The Panthers have caught Boston. The Leafs' most likely playoff opponent is probably the Bruins in round one, which used to scare you, but does it now if you're the Leafs, or is that...
The jerseys in the building.
Yeah, the jerseys
will always send shivers down any Leaf fan or any Leaf player's mind, I think.
I wonder if it's, though, like the Caps had to get by the Penguins to slay their dragon on the way. Do you have to slay the
Leafs
Bruins?
have multiple dragons now.
They have Game of Thrones.
Yeah, buddy. Like the Panthers, so they get past the first round. Let's say they play Boston. And I mean, Florida's going to wax whoever they play in the first round. You're going to have to beat them again.
The East is going through Florida.
Absolutely.
Every team right now should be thinking about acquiring players in the East that will help beat Florida Panthers.
Do you think there's a danger when you tailor your lineup to play one team and all of a sudden you draw the Rangers and you got to skate instead of hit?
It depends if you're satisfied with winning a round or not. And there's no guarantee. Like, Florida could get knocked out. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Or just draw someone else.
I just think you're hoping that Florida has a couple of bad injuries or Bobrovsky gets cold, but that's
Very
what
possible.
It just seems it's going to take to slow Florida down.
Yeah. They're 9-1 in the last 10.
Just a Bobrovsky going back to the old Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
So, is that what you hope for?
Yeah, definitely.
If not,
I mean,
how do you not feel like
if you're the Leafs and you're finishing a wild card spot and draw the Rangers, you feel pretty good about that playing through the Metro, or it's a different sort of.
Ultimately, the Rangers that have won 7 in a row.
But ultimately, if you have a team that could match a little bit better against Florida, it's going to only help you destroy any other team as well. That's the way you got to think.
What did you guys make of the outdoor game, MetLife Stadium? Isles get up. Best case scenario for the league. Like,
I think maybe it was the best outdoor game I've ever watched.
Like bigger club, come from behind. Oh, man.
Everybody wants to talk about this thing jumping the shark a long time ago, but you're really at the end of the day. I'm not really an end of the day type of guy, but I'll give you one. They pack in 70,000 people.
Yep.
Yeah,
you pack in you pack in like 5 gates.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's a spectacle. The players enjoy it. And I got to tell you, people are giving Lou Lamoriello a hard time because the Islanders didn't walk in doing any sort of
the professional guys had to wear suits? What a disaster.
I loved it. I loved it. Whereas this is National Hockey League, we're playing a game for 2 points.
It's great locally. I guess it doesn't get the sizzle across the country anymore, but it still
Fisherman
sells.
garb or something.
And fans love it. End of story. And it's a moneymaker.
Last year they put the squids in it. This last game, they're like got the worst ratings. They're like, Blackhawks time, baby. Blackhawks time.
Yeah, love it.
All right, our thanks to Sean Reynolds. Does a great job covering the Winnipeg Jets. Gord Stellick in our first hour. 8 games on tap. We'll keep an eye on the Minnesota-Winnipeg one, and we hope we've got some excitement in that
Yeah,
one.
shout out to Archdeep Baines making his debut for the Canucks. Surrey guy. Pretty awesome.
Love it.
Enjoy the games tonight, and we're right back here tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show to do it all over again.